testing this cheap hay moisture deal off you can buy off of Amazon versus this John Deere one to see which one's accurate. This one's designed for a windrow. This one's obviously designed to go in the bale. So if this one's reading, say, 10% in the windrow, and then this one says that is 10% after we bale it, that's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, hell, it's in good shape.
Huh?
The hay's in good shape.
Oh, I know that. It's a video for YouTube.
No.
Today, we're going to test the TK100 moisture meter against a John Deere hay moisture meter and see if it's really accurate or not. We're going to go through the whole process. We're going to check it after we cut. We're going to check the moisture after we rake, and we're going to check the moisture after we bale and give you a full and complete breakdown of if it really works and how it compares to the John Deere one. Now obviously the John Deere one is about $400 and some odd moisture meter, maybe more, I don't know. I didn't buy it. That was my neighbor's. He let me borrow it for this. I did buy the TK100 because I was curious. It's $69. If it works, obviously it's worth keeping. If it's not accurate, it's not worth keeping. Now before we head out to the field and we get some real readings, I'm just going to go over some stuff with you just so you can understand a little bit more about this piece of equipment. Now when you buy it, this is what's going to come with. It's going to come with this fancy little bag, and I say that sarcastically. It's just a cheap bag. And it's also going to come with some instructions that are translated directly from Mandarin. They're not really useful, just to be honest with you. All these instructions are going to tell you is what you can actually already read on the buttons and is not really going to be of use to you. So I've already got this on. I'm going to hold it and we'll turn it off real quick. Now that's off, so you can see the buttons right here. So from your left, my right, this is 0 or an up arrow. The center one is your power button or function. And the left, your right, my left, is hold or a down arrow, turning it on. So if you hold it down, it'll turn on. But you can also see that if I hold it longer, it goes through some other things. So right now it's on alarm 2 and then alarm 1. And then it also has another one that is adjust. So AD, whoops, here, let me try this again. I went past it. There's another right here. So adjust, and it's got 83. So it goes all the way from 80 to 86. It shows up on 83, and that's what I've left it on, because it doesn't tell you in the instructions or anywhere online what each individual setting is. So I'm assuming 83 is like 0. It's not adding or taking away any moisture, but if you go below 83, it's going to subtract some moisture from whatever reading it gets. And if you go above 83, it's going to add some moisture to whatever it's showing you. You use the arrows right here, you just hold them, and that'll either bring it up or down. We're just going to leave it on 3 because, like I said, that's where we've been using it. Hold the power button again, and it'll turn off. But if you hold it longer, it'll go from adjust to alarm 2 or alarm 1. And both the alarms are the same concept. So at 14, it'll go off, and it doesn't have an audible alarm. It's just going to have a different color. So it's green, this light right here, unless it gets to your alarm settings. And in this case, like if it sets off alarm 1 at 14%, it's going to change from green to orange. And then if it goes above 20%, because that's where I have alarm 2 set, it's going to change from orange to red. Other than that, it doesn't really do anything for you. And realistically, it's just not needed, because if your eyes can see a light, you can probably see whatever the actual moisture reading is, and that's probably just going to be as important to you as watching a light. Starting with the 0 button, right? If we hold it, you'll hear it beep, and then you'll hear it beep again. When you hear it beep the second time, it's zeroed out, and meaning that it's calibrated, or supposed to be calibrated, to the temperature around you that you actually have the moisture meter in, and also the humidity level. I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe it's actually doing something, maybe it's not. I don't know. Moving on to the button on the other side here. So this one is either a down arrow or a hold button. So if you hold it, you're going to see max show up in this bottom part of the screen here. And what that means is this. So watch when I hold this. So notice it went up to 24.3%, and it never went back down. This means that it's going to hold whatever the highest moisture reading that it's gotten. It's not going to go down below it. And as you get higher ones, so like now if I hold this longer or hold it tighter, it'll do the same thing, but it'll go up. So it's at 31.4% now. It's going to hold that highest setting that you've seen, which is kind of handy because let's say you're looking for the wettest part of your hay. You can just keep testing and see if it ever reaches above what you're looking for instead of waiting for it to go and read through everything, because it does take, you know, roughly 1 or 2 seconds for it to go from, let's say, from 31.4. Well, it did it instantly there, but if I hold it, it takes it a second before it goes back down to 0. So it would save you some time, I suppose. You've noticed that I was able to change the moisture that it shows by touching it. So if I touch right here, notice nothing happens. But if I touch over here, because my body is going to conduct or have resistance, that is where it's getting its moisture readings from. And the tighter I squeeze, the better connection it has, the higher the levels go up. That's just how it works. It simply works off of resistance. So the lower the resistance, the higher the moisture rating, because moisture is going to conduct electricity better than no moisture at all. That is how it works. And that's what also makes it a little tricky, because if you stick this into a bale, especially a tight bale like our round bales, it's going to read really high rather than what it actually is on the moisture level. And you're going to see that when we start baling. But other than that, everything is pretty well covered on this, and we're going to talk about it more in the field so you can really see it working and understand how it works. Now, this John Deere one, I do not know the model number of it. It's a John Deere hay moisture tester, and it has roughly, well, the probe on it is quite a bit longer. It's probably twice the length of the TK100. Now, this one is specifically designed to actually go inside of the bales. It really isn't designed to test necessarily the rows, so the windrows and stuff like that. This is not what this one is designed for. But this is what we're going to do while we're in the field. We're going to test both of them all the time together just to see what they show. When it's going to be important is when we start baling. So we're going to test the moisture before the before the hay is baled, and we'll use both of them for that. And then we're going to test again after it's been baled, and we'll see what they are showing. Theoretically, what should happen is whatever this one shows in the windrows is what this one should show whenever it's baled up. Is it going to work like that? I don't know. We'll see. One other quick note though, if you look on the back of this, it's going to tell you right here that it is far more accurate below 30% than it is above 30%. I don't know if the same holds true for this one or not, and I'm going to say I have no idea, and we'll never know because the instructions aren't very clear anyways. So whatever Chinese knockoff, or whatever the Chinese companies use to knock off to make this, those instructions would probably be more clear and actually tell us what we need to know, but needless to say, they're not around. All right, so we're out here in this field that we just cut this morning. Well, I say this morning. We started around 11 o'clock and I finished around 4. This is roughly 22 acres of hay that we knocked down today, and we're going to show multiple spots of it. So specifically, we're going to show at least 3, if not 4. I have 3 specifically that I'm thinking of in my head because when I was cutting, it just made me think of it because of how thick it was and the different blends of grass. So like this spot that we're at right now, this is just straight grass. There's no clover in it, just straight fescue basically. And most of it is undergrowth, very little in the form of stems, just because it was a rougher year for the stems this year, it seems, and very little seed production. So to ensure a fair test, this is what we're going to do. We are going to take this 5-gallon bucket. It is clean inside. There's nothing in there. And we're also, actually, before we put it in there, I'm going to show you that it doesn't make a difference. It's not going to change anything when it touches any of the probes. So let me show you that first. All right, so you can see it's in the bucket. I'm not holding it at all. It's just touching it. And no, I don't think I need to explain it to you, but obviously plastic is not conducive and will not conduct electricity. So it's going to still show that there is no moisture in the bucket. On this one, nothing has changed. It is still showing less than 8%, which is to be expected because, again, plastic bucket. Now the next thing we're going to do is this thick patch of hay right here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to fill this bucket up with it. I'm not going to stuff it, but I am going to fill it full so that we have a completely full bucket to ensure that when we put the prongs in here, it is going to have an accurate reading. So we have our hay inside the bucket. We have our meter. We're going to zero it because I just turned it back on. And we're going to put it in here and just see what it shows us. And it's showing us 20.1 is what it's looking like it's going to stay around. Now, let's do the same thing, but let's put it in a little further. Or see how far we can get it in there. That's showing 22.7. Obviously, it's reading upside down, but 22.8. And you can see the red light like we were talking about earlier, so it's above alarm 2. No big deal. 23, it's still climbing. We're going to leave it in there and just see what it comes out to. See if it keeps climbing or what the end result there is. While that's still working, we're going to take the John Deere one, and you can see it's showing less than 8%. And we're going to set it in here and not touch any of the prongs of the other one. You know, kind of in a predicament here. I've got them both in there, but I cannot get this to flip over so that it'll be upright for you guys. But you can see they're actually showing really close on moisture now. This John Deere one is pretty well maxed out at this, not maxed out, but it's evened out. It's already got to the highest point, and now it's just kind of hanging around that 23.9, 23.8. Whereas you can see the TK100 is hanging around that 24%, 24.1. And it's kind of bouncing around at that point, not really changing much. We're going to give it just a few more and just see what it does, if anything. And I'm going to say we've pretty well leveled out to where we're going to be. The TK100 keeps bouncing around from 24.2 up to 24.5, and then it bounces back. Now we're in a different part of the field. This sample is specific because it has a lot of weeds, and I'll show you a little more up close so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about here. So this very stemmy weed, I'm not sure what it's called, kind of looks like a tomato plant to an extent, obviously isn't. This is where previous owners of this land had stacked bales, and needless to say, it kind of makes it to where grass doesn't grow well, and then it does grow with whatever is there in the summer, and then eventually in the winter or the fall, grass will kind of take over, but then weeds take over again the next summer. Anyhow, this is a different texture, so we're just going to try it because the other two that we have, so the first one we had was mostly mixed grass. This other one we have is mostly mixed grass as well, but it has different blends of grass, whereas that one had only fescue. So let's stuff our bucket full. Not stuff, but let's fill our bucket full. There we go. We're going to turn both of these on, get them zeroed real quick, or get this one zeroed. All right, now they are both reading 0, and they have been zeroed. What we're going to do is we're going to put them, I'm going to put them in this bucket, and then I'll walk towards you. Put that one in there, we'll put that one right there, that way they're not touching each other, and we'll see what that gets us. So I know it's going to be a little harder for you guys to read. All right, so we've got them both in here. I think you guys can read it, but I'm going to read them out loud just for good measure. And the TK100 is saying 22.9, and it's pretty well holding 23.1. It's bouncing back and forth between that 23 mark. But then the John Deere one is showing 10.1. So let's move it around, see if we can get a different reading on it. But that's even less. Interesting. Let's, there we go. That's the same spot now. It's definitely going up. So we're still at 23, well 23.4 now on the TK100. And the John Deere is pretty well staying around that 14.7 mark. Which this is pretty dry. I will say that. But it got mowed. This was one of the first areas we mowed this morning, so it would make sense that it would dry down more. So we pretty well not changing anymore. Let's move this one around and see if that makes a difference. And pretty well didn't make a difference. It's still around 20.3, 20.6. And the John Deere one's still around that 15.5 mark. The TK100 is climbing. It's looks like it's going to end up staying around 21. All right, so we're going to move on to the next sample. This bit of hay here, this has fescue in it. It has some timothy, a little bit of orchard grass, and it also has some clover. It's definitely pretty dry too. I can feel that. Turning both of these on again, we will zero the TK100. I don't know if you actually need to do that every time you turn it on, but I'm just doing it because we want to make sure we're doing the same thing for our test, right? Let's put these in here and let's see where we go. Oh, this is going to be really hard for you guys to see. I'm on a bad angle with the shadows. Let's see here. TK100 is showing 13.3, well, 12.7. It's bouncing a little bit. John Deere is showing less than 8. Let's try a different spot with it, because I mean, it is pretty dry, but I don't think it's quite that dry. Maybe it is. Yeah, it's better. Found a wetter spot. And it's actually about the same angle we're at with the TK100. So the TK100 is showing 13.6, and the John Deere is showing us right at 10.2. So we'll come back tomorrow when we rake, and we'll see what that shows us. So if you can't tell, all the hay has been raked. That actually happened yesterday afternoon / evening. But we are about to bale it, so we're going to do our moisture test now. Exact same concept. We'll turn that one on real quick. This one turned on. This is zeroed. This one's at less than 8%. Leave those there. And we're gonna take this, we're just gonna put it in our bucket here. That, stuff this in here. This is saying 9.7, 9.4, 9.4. And if you go with this one, this one's saying 9.9. Nope, now it's dropped down to 8. Now it's saying less than 8. All right, so the John Deere is saying less than 8%. The TK100 is reading right at 9%, 8.9, 8.8, somewhere in there. And we're gonna take this back out, dump it all out, back in the windrow preferably. We're gonna bale it up. Now we did that spot because that should be pretty much our core of our bale, and that's where we're gonna do our testing at. This is about the first 15 feet of the windrow. So you don't have to keep looking at my ugly mug. We're gonna cut to some drone footage. You can watch it be baled and listen to the tractor work. And then we will be back momentarily and we'll get some readings. So we're getting everything set up again. So again, we're going to turn them both on. We will zero the TK100. And we're going to put them both right here at the center. Letting them both fall down. Now right now the TK100 is reading 14.3. The John Deere is reading 10.3. Now if you remember, right before we put all this hay into a bale, the TK100 was reading pretty close to that 9-10% range, and the John Deere was saying less than 8%. So let's try a couple more places, just see what we get. Right now the TK is reading 13.9. The John Deere is reading 11.2. And we'll try top and bottom here as well. Like I said, that first 20 feet, pretty much all in that area. What we'll do on the next bale is we'll do it right there at the pickup of the actual baler, and we'll see the direct center. TK100 saying 16.1, and the John Deere's saying 11.3. All right, so we've got our bucket. You can see it's stuffed with hay again. Not super tight, but it is enough that we're gonna get a reading. We're gonna zero this out. We just turned it on and I set it down on that. We'll set that in there. Actually, I'm gonna turn it this way so you guys can maybe read it. And right now it's showing 11.3. Let's try, that's the bucket itself. It's showing 12.8. John Deere is reading less than 8%. All right, let's get this baled. This is literally, you can see the tongue of the baler, so this is gonna be the very center of the core. And I'm gonna put this on the driver's side, so the left-hand side of the bale, so when it ejects, we're right there by it. Just like I said, I'm gonna drop this right here as soon as I get it out of the bucket. There we go. So it's right here on the left-hand side of the baler. It's gonna be the first thing the baler eats. As promised, there it goes. So, again, they're on, they're zeroed. We're gonna put, that's a tight bale. We're gonna put that one in the middle, and it's showing 19.3. We're gonna put this one right next to it. I'm actually gonna bring you guys over there. All right, so you can see right here, we got the John Deere saying 10.2, and we've got the TK100 saying 19.3. Now, this is in the center. It's on the left-hand side of the bale. You can see the baler right there. It just got kicked out. There's no funny business. This is just what it is. So this is obviously designed to go in a bale and is to tell me what the temperature is if I push the temperature button or the moisture. This TK100 will give you your readings, but like we talked about before, based off of pressure, it's going to change because the better connection it has between one prong to the other, then it's going to show less resistance and it's going to show higher moisture rating. So that's essentially what we figured out here today. Does it work? Yes, it absolutely does. Will it work to test your bale? Maybe. I don't know if I would really trust it for a bale. I know it shows a square bale on the website on Amazon. I wouldn't use it for inside of a bale. In a windrow, yes, I would absolutely use it. But in a bale, I would definitely use one that's actually designed for a bale. Now realistically, if you're testing this before you bale it, it really doesn't matter what it shows in the test after it's baled because you already know it's less than 20% or between 14 and 20. This is obviously dry like we talked about. We let it sit a little bit longer than we should have, but it's good for this test. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Have a blessed week. We'll see you next time.